Welcome to AMIcast, podcast about Amiga computers. I'm your host, Krzysztof Radzikowski, but call me Krzysztof or Radzik.
Hi Trevor, we are at Amiga 30 years in Germany now. I'm pleased to meet you and I would ask you just short questions because we don't have so much time about X5000 first. When it will be available to buy, because now it's our pre-orders, yeah?
Can they be a politician?
Yeah, you can be a politician.
They never ever answer questions, do they? But what I was going to say was, this is my second German show. My first one was 5 years ago at Essen, where we launched the X1000. And it seems quite apt that 5 years later, here we are launching the X5000. So that's really good. So well, the thing is, we're receiving shipments from our supplier, our developers, every week. So there's a stack of X5000s piling up. So I want to sell them yesterday. So when will they be available for sale? We're going to, next week, Matthew Lieben, my business partner, will put the pre-order website up so people can go in and specify their system to pre-order. And then I would hope, I was going to say 2 more weeks, I was going to hope shortly after that then we'll be shipping, because they're there. They're ready to ship.
Okay, so this will be the complete computer.
This will be what we're calling if you remember with the X1000 we had the first contact. Well, here we have close encounters. So it's a close encounter with the X5000. It'll come with I call it an MVP, minimal viable product operating system. So it'll come with OS 4. It'll be a work in progress version. There'll be an advanced beta, so there'll still be updates coming after you get it.
Okay.
But it'll be, to all intents and purposes, a working system. The board installed in its own case, fully specified, with all the extras.
And maybe most important, the price it will be?
The price starts from, as a system, $16.99 sterling. That includes VAT.
Okay, this is in euros. You may.
In euros, what's that? I don't know.
2000 something.
Yeah, 2,100. I don't know.
Okay. With taxes, this is, yeah?
With taxes. Obviously, shipping's extra, and that includes OS 4 in the price.
Final edition.
Yeah, well, the OS 4 for the X5000. So it'll be final edition, but it's whatever state that is. So the price is about £430 cheaper than the X1000.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about, for US customers, or non-EU customers, it's about just under $1,000 cheaper.
Okay, very nice. Good to hear this. One question, if you can answer me, because I'm in Amsterdam, you said there are 2 hardware will come. Can you say something more about this, or because you said that
there's something over there, I don't know where it is, but you go and look, you can see yourself.
Okay, I will take a video of this.
Okay.
Okay, I catch you later in the bigger interview.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
I hope that was useful.
Okay. So, hi, how are you? And who you are? Explain us, because here we have new hardware, as I think.
Okay. This is the new A-EON computer. It's called Tabor. It has 1.2 gigahertz processor, dual core. You can install 8 gigabyte of RAM.
Okay.
The board has a small structure. Yeah.
It's mini ATX or something.
The positive thing is we tested this in 1 year, and 3D acceleration, sound, and games work very, very well. And I think it's a good opportunity for
Like entry level. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the Amiga OS will be available at its plant, yeah?
Yeah.
And maybe you can say something in the next year or...
I think next year, but it's better to talk with Trevor about it.
Yeah. Okay, and the cost is not known now, I think. The
cost is, I think the cost is similar to the SAM computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is nice. Okay, thanks. This is
okay.
I'm pleasant to have here one of the best programmer for Amiga games, I think. Am I right?
Well, next generation Amiga games.
Yeah, next generation Amiga games, but we will make
there isn't so many competitions, so it's
yeah.
easy
This is true, but your games, like I was playing now with small kid, I completely died. This is the
Wings
Battlefield. So this is my first time. This was not so good. It's not so easy, but the game is very nice. And I want to just ask you about your future project, because I think you will be developing Tower 57 for Amiga.
Yes, well, developing is the wrong word. It's just a port.
Just a port, but I think this is quite not so easy, because we are missing some stuff.
No. In case of Tower 57, it should be quite easy.
Okay.
Some things have to be optimized, and when I say easy, it's because I already have some experience with the usual problems.
But it will be
one-to-one.
But it will be also AmigaOS and MorphOS, I think.
Exactly.
So this is not, so this is tricky, I think, because these systems are.
No, I already. Over the time when I started with Ace of Hearts back in the days, I developed and enhanced my own portable framework. So I write the same code, and at the end 3 executables are spit out, or 4. Sometimes the AmigaOS 4 versions are split into a composite and Warp 3D version.
Okay, yeah, I know.
But I abstracted all the differences into common code, so
it's not so dramatic, because I
develop on a PC, and I can see exactly how the game will look on the Amiga, any Amiga, and when I'm done, ready to test, I run a build script system, and 1 minute later, the LHR archives, zip archives are done.
Okay. And you have been working with Gorky, I think, too, yeah? No. That's
the guys from Entwickler X.
Okay. Because you are not working together, maybe?
No.
So there are two good guys. There are two good things.
Right. I have to... Yes, we are definitely on the same level.
And just one question, maybe. There is options in future for Amiga to have some good games like your games or like Tower 57. That or this is possible to make some money. That for example, Tower 57 is focused on mainstream platforms, but through this we can get something for us too. What do you think about that?
Can you?
Because I was thinking if we can get for AmigaOS games or Amiga in general, whatever.
You mean if we can do the same thing like what we did
for other games, that you get the cash for mainstream, and this is only.
I get some money for the port, but it's pocket money.
So for beer.
For some cigarettes and
to work more intense.
I can pay what I consume during the development.
Okay,
but it will, as I said, it's rather easy to port.
Okay,
because it's written in C or C++, and it's using OpenGL, and it's well, it's not using fancy shader stuff, and so it's really, it should be really easy to port. I guess it will be less than 2 weeks.
Okay.
For all platforms.
Oh, very
so
nice.
this is a real special case.
Yeah.
Usually, current PC games aren't
Easy, yeah.
aren't that easy to port. Most often you would have to rewrite. Or let's put it this way: many current PC games are written using Unity.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
Yeah. This engines, yeah.
You have to rewrite everything from
Okay.
scratch. You can extract some game logic if you got the Unity sources, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to write the whole rendering stuff yourself, etc., etc. So that's a totally different story. And right now with Tower 57, it just needed a few extra bugs to
So there is a
support. But in normally for bigger games, you would have to work months over months to port it to the Amiga, and you also would have to maybe do polygon reduction on models and stuff like that. All time consuming and money consuming stuff. So it's actually we are talking about way more than 10,000 euro to port a decent PC title.
okay.
And you would have to make compromises regarding the quality, of course. At least when it's about AmigaOS 4.
Yeah. Well, okay. This we will continue in the main episode with you, I hope, because this was very nice. I already take your time, and this was very impressive. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. So, hi. I met the author of SoundBankster program.
Yeah,
First, something about your program, because this is for DJs, yeah, or could be.
it could be for DJs, but also for people who love listening music and maybe trying to blend music together.
So, not maybe for the podcast, because I don't think so. This you can.
That's not made for editing audio. In
It's
fact,
only for mixing, yeah, something.
only for mixing. Yeah, you can load 2 different tracks, music at the same time, and adjust the replay speed of each track, and blend them together with an equalizer.
Okay.
Change high, mid, and low frequency band. That's what I can say about SoundBankster. It's something pretty simple to use. It's my point of view.
Yeah, of course.
But what's interesting about SoundBankster is that it makes use of many system components of MorphOS.
Okay, so
Let's enumerate them. There is TinyGL,
yeah.
for rendering the waveforms on the screen. There is MUI for the user interface.
Yeah.
There is Rigi, the audio framework, media framework of MorphOS.
Something like that types, yeah.
It makes also good use of sensors API, which allows the use of USB controller, external controller. That's what I can say about the component used by SoundBankster.
Okay.
What's interesting also is the size of the application. It weighs only 350
Megabyte.
kilobyte.
Kilobyte. Oh,
It
fuck.
fits on the floppy.
Impressive, like old school. Good, very
Like old
nice.
school, yeah. So it's kind of a demo of what SoundBankster is able to do. In fact, not SoundBankster, MorphOS.
Okay. And in this situation, do you plan the version for other systems like AmigaOS, iOS, or this is even possible because you talk that this is completely connected, yeah?
It's really intricate inside MorphOS operating system. SoundBankster makes use of native MorphOS components. Like Reggae doesn't exist on other operating system. there is also sensors API, which doesn't exist on OS4 or other operating systems. So it's hardly possible to port SoundBankster to OS4 or AMIgaOS, for example. That's a technological demonstration of what MorphOS is capable on the audio part of the system.
Okay, but maybe future projects you will make more platform independent.
Platform independent.
This is maybe wrong word, but
in fact, I try to use the components offered by MorphOS, the new components, the new API. So it's difficult to port my work to other operating system because I use something specific to MorphOS.
Okay.
That's a demonstration of what SoundBankster is a demo.
Okay.
It's a demo.
So I think about more question about your work and development we can make in extra episode with you. This will be pleasant for me.
With pleasure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you. I will cut it.
Well, I'd like to add something. I also worked on CAMD, C-R-A-N-D library for MIDI. MIDI support with a library which is compatible with CAMD, which exists on OS4 and AMIgaOS. I added MIDI support to MorphOS lately.
Okay.
It's not yet available, but will be maybe with the next release of MorphOS.
Okay, very nice. So we'll talk later more. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the view.
Hi. I met Jacek, one of the developer of MorphOS. So I have some questions, just short questions about, for example, X5000 and MorphOS for it, because there's work in progress or is already ported.
Yeah, basically the port is complete, everything works as intended, so it will be available with the next release of MorphOS, which should come within the next half a year, not more.
And the cost, maybe you know how much will cost the license for it?
No, we did not set a price yet. It's too early to say.
And you think there will be a lot of users of this, because the hardware is quite expensive compared to other powerful Macs, yeah?
Well, I'm pretty sure it won't beat the Mac Mini, which is the strongest MorphOS platform so far. But yeah, I suppose MorphOS is very attractive, so the people that will buy the hardware will get MorphOS as well, or at least are going to try it.
Yeah, this is the good point. Okay, and today I saw that A-EON will release the new hardware, and this is connected with my question. If you plan in future to release MorphOS for new platforms, if they come from, for example, A-EON or A-Cube.
I think that's quite probable that we'll continue working with those guys. It's it depends on the support from their part, if we get the hardware early and so on.
Okay, and this is a good question. And this work during porting MorphOS to new X5000, it was good connection with A-EON, or this was hard together work or something like that?
I'm not aware of any problems. The cooperation was pretty okay.
Good, very nice. And maybe last question, the more tricky, because the people are saying or want to know if there will be jump to another architecture. What do you think about this?
Well, that's something we've been talking about for a while now, but it's still, something that has to wait a bit. It's a lot of work, and for now we're focusing on the current MorphOS, and probably even if the so-called MorphOS NG comes out, the old MorphOS will also be supported for a while.
Okay, and how it will be with compatibility with, for example, old Amiga software? Because now it's no problem mostly, yeah. And in this situation, you must integrate emulation? Or?
Yeah, we would have to integrate some emulator because there's not going to be any compatibility anymore.
Okay, and maybe one more question. If we really need to jump for new hardware, or PowerPC is enough for us? Because, for example, A-EON makes only PowerPC, and this is expensive hardware, yeah?
True.
So makes sense, or we should still be in PowerPC world? The last survivor.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense to exit the PowerPC world, especially since the hardware is still out there and it's still quite capable. But it would be silly not to jump to other architectures. So if we want to look into the future, we have to do the jump at some point.
Okay. Well, we'll see if A-EON or Hyperion will jump too. Last question. Because I was always making the pressure on podcasts, I hope that our camps can work together more. This is possible in your opinion or not? For example, the standard question is Odyssey web browser. Now AROS have theoretically the best, the newest, the best working with JTI. Yeah, this.
Yeah.
And for us, this is a problem for both sides because this is connected with PowerPC, I think. So how to do it to have the one browser together, develop it or something like this? Because I cannot write my blog on Amiga.
Yeah, sure. Well, the problem with the browser is that Google and Apple don't care about PowerPC, so they keep breaking stuff, which is causing problems for us on the PowerPC. That's why iOS has newer version of the web browser and we don't. But there's always been some cooperation with ROS on our sides, and I think it's going to stay like that. About OS4, no comments.
Okay, so I will not put more questions about this. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, you're
It's
welcome.
nice to talk. It will be live, so whatever. Hi again. I meet again one of the FriendOS or FriendApp guy. So give us an update. What is about your work?
Well, what we're working on right now is to bring out the first version that other people can test. So in the end of October, we're going to bring out the first developer-oriented version.
Okay, very nice.
It's a pre-release, but it will allow you to work with files, program some things, use our APIs, and play around.
Okay, but this will be only for developers, not for, let's say, us.
We will try to invite up to 200 people.
Ah, very nice.
So it will not be just professional developers, it will be anybody. But it is of, how do you say that? The quality of the system thus far is meant for developers. So that means that some things still break, some things are not so useful unless you know programming. But of course you do have some user-oriented applications. For example, we have a video and audio conferencing and chatting application. Mm-hmm. So you can, if you have other people who also go in on the developer version, they will be able to chat together. They'll also be able to use it on their phones to chat and to so that way you're going to be the first users of applications.
Okay.
But what we want is developer feedback, as well as user feedback, but mostly developer feedback because that type of insight will help us the most for the first release in December, which is for everybody.
Okay, so let's ask you about Amiga party here, because this is the party that you are in, and this is the. How was it first? How was it in California? Hotter than here for sure.
I would say it was probably about 3 times as big, and it was huge. We talked to some of the original Amiga engineers, and they said that this was in what was in Mountain View in California was probably the biggest Amiga show since 1986. So it was really big. Almost everybody who was involved with Commodore and Amiga was there at that time. So it was nothing to miss.
And you were also with your business stuff connected with your FriendOS.
Yeah.
And you get some support or something like
that? Oh yeah. We've now been second time in California. Been in many of the cities around in the Bay. And we now have collected a lot of people who wants to invest in the real phase. So where we're at right now is driven by seed money. That means it's the first investors, basically the round that you call family and friend investors. So we have some strategic investors who are not family and friends, or they're becoming friends. But we have no business investors who only do it for the business. Everybody who's been investing up to this moment has done it because they believe on a personal level in the project.
Very nice.
In January, probably, we will get our first business investments. They don't care about the platform, they might at the personal level, but they're professional investors. And they will bring in bigger money so that we can hire a lot of people. So the team we have now, it's a skeleton crew that is just what we have to build the first version. But next year we're going to have real money coming in so that we can actually build something that is going to blow everybody's socks off.
Very nice. So I'm happy that, let's say, Amiga Spirit is still alive and can find the cash for developing something new, something revolutionary.
Yeah, the reason is that this isn't just Amiga stuff. The Amiga side of it has to do with the technology and the solutions. And of course you can skin it so it looks exactly like an Amiga. But it has a lot of great business potentials. So it's useful for people who never knew what an Amiga was.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. And that's where our primary focus lays outside of the legacy, is to bring this to people who don't care if it's Amiga. They just want it to make sense for them in a business or in an integration situation, anything that's business related. And if we can bring that, then we will be a success. If not, we're just going to be at retro parties and demo shows.
But this is good. At the end of all, this is good. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you keep us updated in the future what happens with your team and work and the OS. Okay, thanks.
No problem.
So now I have the pleasure to talk with Costel from Hyperion. So the first question, this is again partly with Amiga 30 years. And what do you think about this? And this is the last, I think, party in this year in this
as far as I know, yes.
Yeah, and it is good. And maybe this is too much. These parties because you are always traveling, I think. Yeah.
I do like the party here in Neuss. It's quite different from Amsterdam and Peterborough, where I have been as well. Because it's very crowded, you know. Mm-hmm. In Amsterdam you had that tent and you had that room and the people were a bit distributed. In Peterborough you had that charity dinner, which was a much smaller scale. And here you have 450 people all over the room, in one room. Exactly. And it's loud and it's noisy, it's stressful, but it makes a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you showed, for example, Gorky. The game is now available to buy, and the development was a lot of time, 70 years or something like this. At the end of all, why it takes so much time, or what happened during this? No time, probably. Yeah?
I think it was 12 years actually. When 12 years ago, when the contract was signed with Metropolis, out of this contract, for example, a Linux port raised, which was sold by Linux Game Publishing, and the Amiga port was started but never finished. About the details, I don't really know something. What I do know is that 2 people worked on it and made it run on AmigaOS, but it did not run really good. And at some point, it just, I don't know, maybe it was forgotten about and nobody did care anymore about it. And in the end of second quarter this year, we remembered about it and said, we have that license and we should bring it out because the work is almost done. It needs some optimizations, bug fixes and all this, but the work is almost done. So we commissioned Frank Menzel from Entwickler-X to work on it, and he finished it in about half a year, and it's quite a good product.
And now we can play. And this is only exclusive for AmigaOS, or it will be available for other systems too?
This is exclusive to AmigaOS 4, yes.
Okay. So the other question is, do you plan to port something new or some other games? Because Hyperion years ago was very known of the ports of the games.
Well, that depends a bit on the success of Gorky. It's a bit of a test case for us. But yes, we do have some licenses left. We also want, for example, to polish the existing games like FreeSpace or Shogo, or which are not necessarily, some are not installable in a modern system or not playable for whatever reason. And we do have those plans, but we will do one step after each other. So we have to see, and the AmigaOS development must not suffer from that. So
yeah, and now we go to AmigaOS development. So now you are working on X5000 to make it finished, yeah, to port of AmigaOS, as I think, yeah.
Yes.
And it's almost finished because the computer will be soon available, I think, yeah.
Yes. I don't know the exact schedule when A-EON wants to start selling, but I think they take already pre-orders.
Yeah.
And the AmigaOS is already in a pretty good state, but we have to do some polishing and optimization work. Some problems to solve yet, yes. One or another driver is missing, but it comes along a good way.
Okay, so now after this, what happened? AmigaOS 4.2, for example, the work continue, or you will maybe support the new hardware that A-EON shown today?
Well, we have OS 4.2 is a difficult topic because it was announced so long ago and it was always delayed. So we don't have any release date to announce. All work we do, which is on the X5000, which will be on the new hardware A1222 from A-EON, will help will help us coming to a 4.2 because the work is not lost. But as we are working on porting onto those systems, we have to get the system stable on those new hardware, and this of course takes time. Everything else will come after that.
Okay, so and one question about the hardware, because on your stand I saw the laptop of Amiga. This is the abandoned project. Can you tell exactly what happened? Because it was very nice netbook, I will say.
This netbook was basically a Limebook Z9, produced by the Chinese company Lime Incorporated. And at some point in 2011, we had the idea of porting AmigaOS to it and rebranding it as Amiga Netbook and selling it for a very low price point because it was available for a pretty decent price. And we started the port. At the same time, we started negotiations with Lime. And unfortunately, it got announced to the public on AmiWest 2011, which was far too early because the port was barely working. It was working, but only barely.
Okay.
And the negotiations were not settled yet. So the negotiations went on and on and on and on. And finally, it was clear that Lime would not accept any other deal than us prepaying 1,500 units, if I'm not mistaken, of these completely, before allowing us to get access to the documentation and all the needed other source code, like for the firmware, which was not doable for Hyperion, of course, because 1,500 units times X amount, hundreds of dollars, is just not doable. And we had to abandon that project.
So there is in future chance to have the AmigaOS on laptop, or there is hard? Because we get the new hardware, nice,
yes,
but it's not laptop.
Yeah, very likely not on this netbook, because meanwhile it's completely underpowered. It ran on a, I think, 400 megahertz system on a chip, and it would be just too slow. And nobody really wants netbooks these days. People are using tablets and or full-featured notebooks. And it might be that there is at some point a portable Amiga notebook, like the Italian guys doing this open source PowerPC notebook. If that gives us something, a prototype which we can work on, and if we see that this will actually make it to market, of course we would love to see AmigaOS on a notebook.
Yeah, for me it's good. Perfect too. Okay, the last word for the 30 years of Amiga. Can we work together between the camps? What do you think about this?
In a small scale, that's surely possible, between individual developers, I would say, or by developers like Daniel Müßener releasing his games for all three platforms, or by people using Hollywood creating applications. In the big scale, it is difficult, I think. There is a lot of history attached on both sides, which makes it very difficult to find a solution to that.
Okay, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Let's do it, okay. Hi, how are you? Okay, good. So this is your first party, Amiga 30 years party, or you were, because I was in Amsterdam?
Yeah, my brother was in Amsterdam, I wasn't. So yeah, this is my first.
Okay, and you are very known, and your brother too, so I don't think I need to even speak your name, because everybody now know which guy I'm talking about. Tell me about your now work for AmigaOS. It is how it's going, and the second question is about Timberwolf. I would like to ask you.
Well, currently I'm working currently on Gallium, the 3D graphics API. That's it's taking its sweet time. I think we announced it somewhere in AmigaOS 2012 or 2010. I don't really remember. There's been a lot of switching between other side projects, so it went pretty slow to begin with, and it's also a bit difficult because we want to make sure that we want an OpenGL capable graphics API, but we want it at the lowest possible level. So it's not supposed to use anything from Intuition. It's not even supposed to use a lot of graphics, but it's supposed to be able to be plugged into the very lowest level, so that we can basically we switch the machine on, and as soon as the Amiga is starting to boot, it's available. So because the idea is, since the Gallium itself is just this state tracking mechanism behind the graphics API like OpenGL, and we want to use that state tracking API for things like Cairo. There's also a Cairo version that maps directly onto Gallium. So the idea is then to get a system that is working at a minimal boot level, but can basically run everything, so that we can more or less get rid of most of the old stuff that we have right now. But of course that's difficult, because there are things like, for example, we are working on the multi-core support, and this thing is supposed to be multi-core compatible. So not only on an application level, but I want to have 2 cores or 3 cores of the CPU be able to render at the same time onto the same screen, basically.
Okay.
Things like that is making the whole affair pretty complicated.
This multi-core support it's really hard to bring it, yeah, I think. And you will break the compatibility with the old stuff?
No, that's one of the things we're trying to do. Well, that is mostly my brother's work. He's working on the multi-core support. But the idea is to have to make as little damage as possible, because it's probably inevitable that some things will break, because all of a sudden you have for example, if you do forbit on an Amiga, it will prevent any task switching, and that means that if you use forbit, the only thing you can do is stop all cores, because otherwise something else would be still going on and could interfere with your code. So the idea is that to make this impact as low as possible, so that things that are still using forbit will not stall the whole system. And on the other hand, things like we need to introduce more fine-grained control mechanisms, so that these things can be more controlled from an application point of view. Also, the whole memory system is the memory system was designed to be compatible with multi-core from the beginning, but it's not trivial to add. I mean, there's always some stuff that needs to be done. So yeah, multi-core support isn't that complicated to begin with, but making it compatible and keeping it in such a way that it still works with the old applications, even 68K applications, that's a bit of a challenge.
Okay, so, and this is this is connected with memory protection too, or must be connected?
The memory protection that we can do is very limited. That is unfortunately, we cannot, at the moment with the current API, we cannot do things like isolated address spaces for tasks. It just doesn't work. There's too much sharing going on, and most of the, I mean, if you send a message from one task to another, you can put an address in there, and it needs to be the same address on all the tasks that want to access this message. Okay. So you are basically confined to a single address space, and we can't really do much about that unless we add a new API for things like message passing and stuff like that. That's going to be, it is a long-term plan, but it's going to be, it's a bit on the back burner.
Okay, so now maybe the last question. In this situation, do you have time to, for example, develop the Timberwolf? Because we are missing good web browser now. Yeah. Maybe Odyssey is good, but all outdated.
Yeah, sure. Timberwolf is, I think, on Firefox version 4.01, which is
but
also
still sometimes it's working better than Odyssey.
Yeah, that's a problem. There were some issues with third-party library that is used in Mozilla, and I don't think that we ever got around to addressing those issues. The problem is that about the same time that we did this Timberwolf, Firefox started this insane
the numbers,
this insane release cycle, and it was at one point we couldn't really keep up with it anymore. So right now, to be honest, I'm more inclined to look at Chrome instead of Firefox, because I mean they also have this insane version number, 40 or something. Yeah. But I think that I used both Firefox and Chrome on an old Android tablet, and Chrome is more efficient than Firefox, at least from my experience on that resource limited tablet. So I did have a look at Chrome for a while, but Well, to be honest, I lack the time. It's simple as that. It's always something else. I mean, I'm working now on GDB as well as the debugger, and it's just schedule is full. And as I explained to someone else later today, I mean, Amiga was my hobby. When I started out with it, it was really just my hobby. But the more I started to work on it, the more it became work. So right now it's really difficult for me to do anything after my work on AmigaOS. So that's also one of the reasons why Timberwolves really got stuck here.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for your time. This was a pleasure to meet you. You are the great guy. Thank you. So Pedro, how are you?
I'm surviving, as usually, always surviving. I'm a survivor.
And you are enjoying the show?
Very much. You can see I'm very happy here.
Oh, I'm happy that...
All the nice people here, Amiga, around.
So this is the good times for you, and this is the last, I think, the celebration for 30 years.
For the 30 years, yes.
What you can say to Amiga guys for the next, I don't know, maybe 10 years? What you should enjoy?
I would say, this is like it's a retro computer. And the people like it because it's something special. It's not like a PC. Also, PC gets old, but there will never be a retro computer.
Exactly.
Maybe some special things from the old time. But I think there's a lot of heart blood inside, a lot of emotion. A lot of people, they have the first computer when there was 15, 16, Amiga, right? C64. It's nice, and the computer as well is a nice computer. We said the Amiga has a soul,
Yes.
This will be, and there will be still surviving because you see, all the people are very enthusiastic, very dynamic. They making new boards. They making other things. Right? There's always activities, always dynamic. And as long as the dynamic is, this Amiga will not die, I think.
Yeah.
The hardware is a problem because a lot of hardware is now leaking. The condensers leaking. That the boards get burned. Then a lot of things get also.
But still we have replacement.
The replacement. Yes. But then it is not original, It's like in the automotive industry. If you have a Ford 1914, right?
Yeah.
So everything is original, is a great thing. Or a BMW or something from the old time, So I'm also said, you see my walker here, right?
Exactly. What about your collection? Because you want to sell some stuff or everything?
The problem is as following. I'm 72 years old.
Yeah, this is not so problematic, I think.
No, it's not so, because I'm healthy, God thanks, or some problems, but not serious problems. And then you'll see, I would like to decide who will get all the machines. I would like to do this decision. Me, not anybody else. If I'm dying, you never know. Then what happens with the collecting? Then I have no influence. I cannot say I would like to give it to them or something. So I'm still searching. It's not because of the money. I don't like to give it free of charge, to be honest, because I have also paid something. I bought something, Fleet Market. I suffered with my also 2 bankruptcies and all the things.
Yeah.
They sued me and all that. Anyway, but I would like to give it for the people so they can see the history of the computers. And this I would like to make my decision who will get it.
So there are maybe 2 questions. If someone wants to buy something, must contact direct you?
Yes.
Okay, and other option is maybe the option is to make something like Kickstarter company to found the museum for this stuff. And
if somebody I would do this. I have no problem with this.
This is the best home theoretically.
There are some people, they would like to buy this, but I don't like to give it piece by piece. It's also not. I would like to give it all together. Yeah. And all my things, my books, what I have done, documentation, such, you see. I'm life member here. from 1998. All this remembrance for a museum with then this awards for the computer awards is unique in the world. Or the board here, right? The first board is a unique thing. So nobody had this.
Exactly. So maybe then somebody will want to do something. We will see. Last question about because now I think you are selling some special edition of cases or something like this.
No, I will tell you the story. In 1997, I have to liquidate my warehouse. And my warehouse people, I have my warehouse in Braunschweig, they called me and said, Petro, we have some casing. So I said, okay, throw them away. They said, yeah, it's not so easy because in Germany you have to pay some money for get rid of these things. There's plastic,
like
there's this, exactly recycling. So I said, so how much? They said, yeah, it's around about 5,000 Deutschmarks at this time. And then I said, but my people are also smart. We have somebody, he said, he would like to take all the things free of charge. I think better free of charge than pay 5,000, right? So I said, okay, give him away. And this was a guy, he took, I think, 9 pallets full of production material, brand new, and get it free of charge and put it in a warehouse for 18 years. And he have never touched. And 3 weeks ago he called me and said, Petro, do you remember me? I said, I'm sorry. You really don't remember him because my people manage this, right? I said, okay, so what's the problem? He said, yeah, I have this, you gave me away this free of charge. Can you help me to sell it? And I'm good in logistics because I have the experience with the A1200s. So I said, okay, I have a friend, he has a warehouse, we can do this. The sun is burning here.
Yeah.
Okay. So I said, okay, fine, send me all the things and make a shop. And then I collect the money because the people trust me, I have no problem with this. And send it also, make the logistic and give you then the money. So this agreement.
Okay.
And now they're also selling this here. I said, okay, come to Neuss, and they're selling this by themselves also. I don't care, of course.
Yeah, this is good for community at the end of all.
Community it's not because I get no money for this. It's only cover my cost, but it's okay.
Very nice. Thank you for
You're welcome.
Your time. And here is different. But let's start it with short interview now. So now my guest is RJ, very now the rock star of Amiga. And the first question is easy. How you enjoyed this the third party of 30 years of Amiga? So say something. I see that you are enjoying it a lot.
I enjoy this so much. My greatest joy comes from the fact that I am now getting to really get to know a lot of people who believed in the Amiga many years ago and still believe it up until this day. We invented the machine intending for it to be a new tool that anyone could use to express themselves better, whether you're an engineer or an artist or an audio designer, a video producer. Anyone we hoped would be able to take this machine and do something important to make their lives richer and better. And I mean, that was our dream, and that was 30 years ago that we hoped that something like this would happen. I never believed it would happen as strong as it did, and I've never in my wildest dreams believed it would still be going 30 years later. But the great benefit for me is now I get to really meet these people and see a lot of the things that people have done with the technology that we created before. How have they been able to take the ideas and extend it and create new technology, and now the Amiga name, if not the original hardware, the spirit of the hardware is living on with new people that are creating new devices all the time, and it's a dream come true for me. And so the thing I'm liking the most is that I get to meet the people who I feel are the real heroes around here, the ones who took what we invented and turned it into the thing that it's become today. And so I want to shake everyone's hand here because I feel like I owe them all.
Don't say it loud because This will be too much,
There'll
guys.
be
Here.
too much coming in.
So okay, and I want to, because you are still, I say still in business, something like business. You are working now at Google. So in the gaming or something like this, yeah.
Yes.
So you are connected with technology. You invented a lot of things, and now with Amiga we are divided, not going in one direction. For example, almost we're starting from nothing here. What somebody that's starting from nothing and want to keep the Amiga soul here should do? What your advices from one of the fathers of Amiga to the community?
So, 5 years ago, if someone had asked me what the chances were of a new Amiga being successful, I would have said, close to zero. That the main competition was in the PC versus Apple space, and that there wasn't room for another contender, there wasn't room for another device to come out. Plus, when you look at where Windows has gone in terms of the development of technology and how far Apple has gone with improving the user interface and improving all their technology, although the best thing Apple did was switch to Linux as their operating system or FreeBSD, but you know what I mean. It's
true, now it's working.
And now it's finally working correctly, and now it really has multitasking, and now it really has a file system. And I would have said 5 years ago that it was not possible to create a product that would get enough momentum, because the investment today would be so huge. We're talking, many tens of millions of dollars worth of investment to create a new machine, to create a new operating system, to put together the set of apps that you would need to launch a device, all the standard ones, plus a good set of games. And it's many tens of millions, if not 100 million, if not more than $100 million to put a device like that together today. And it just doesn't seem practical. It didn't seem practical 5 years ago, because it didn't seem like you'd be able to get the numbers of consumers interested in it to ever make back that kind of investment. But what I see going on here, there's so much energy and so many people that are willing to take the idea of the Amiga and bring it forward into the future, both in terms of what the hardware used to be able to do for us, what the operating system, the kind of freedom, the kind of openness and flexibility that it provided to us. And you see so many people creating devices that are actually working, that are here at this show today. Real hardware, real operating system software. We're not seeing a lot of games and apps developed yet, but that's because we haven't settled in on anything, any one system or any one solution. And you're right, there's a lot of bifurcation in this marketplace, in this environment, this development environment. A lot of people trying and in many cases competing against each other, getting in each other's way, and preventing a new thing from coming together. I think that I think there's enough interesting going on here that it would be worth someone having a real look at if it would be really possible to create a new machine today and have it get enough market penetration that it would be worth it. It would require one effort, one machine, getting all of these forces that are at work here. I see the people here in Germany. We saw so many people when we were in Amsterdam. We saw so many people in the United States for the big show we had in Mountain View. These people are overbrimming with energy and with desire and with a willingness to give and to sacrifice and to try to make a new thing happen. I think there might be enough energy going on here that if someone could marshal all of it and find a way to get a single focus and then start going to the right money people, start going to the right other groups that would be needed to create a new device, I don't myself know whether or not a new device would be practical, but I think it's gotten interesting enough for it to be practical to do a real serious study. To find a person or to find a small group of people that would be willing to head up such an effort and give it a look. Put some research money into it, spend a year maybe, trying to pull all the pieces together and see whether or not something could actually be accomplished. I was a disbeliever 5 years ago. I've become a believer. I don't know that it could be done, but I think it's interesting enough to have a look at it.
This is the nice things for you, because if you 5 years ago thought that Amiga was, let's say, dead, now you see there's a little bit kicking. So this is for father. This is a good.
It's a very good thing, yes.
And I really appreciate that you say that there is maybe chance for there is one place for have something different in this mainstream stuff like Windows and the Mac OS, OS X. Sorry, not Mac OS now. So very nice. So.
But as you said in the beginning, there's so many efforts going on here, so many different people trying different sorts of things that
now it's better.
Now it would need everyone to come together, and to get everyone to come together, you're going to need some strong personality that will be able to inspire everyone and
something like Steve Jobs for Amiga.
Yeah, Steve Jobs for Amiga, except not Steve Jobs, please.
I never know this guy, so I don't know. It was good, but everybody says from Apple, amazing guy.
Yeah, he was amazing. We had a lot of visionary qualities to him, and we need someone like that, someone that could have the business acumen, have the vision to be able to see where it might go, and have the charisma to be able to get all of these people that are pulling in many different directions and get them all to pull in the same direction for a change.
So, let's hope somebody we will find. Maybe you won't.
Yeah, maybe me.
Yeah, now you are a rockstar here, so you can do everything.
Unfortunately, I lack the business acumen. I'm not a businessman. I'm an engineer, and I dabble with business, and I can write contracts, and I know my way around a boardroom. But I think we need some much more seriously strong business person than I am. Although I'll be the fireworks, I'll be the spark plug to make the thing happen. That's me.
Yeah, destroy the system.
I'm fond of doing that, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think this is that's all I want.
All right, very good.
Yeah, I hope we do a big interview in the near future.
Yeah, look, we just got to schedule it. All I really need to do is get it on my calendar. Once it's on my calendar, I'm golden. My problem is I'm just like swamped with so much stuff that comes at me every day. We did a count just before I left on this trip, and counting work and home, I'm currently 15,000 emails behind. 15,000 emails.
You must Control A, make it a Control A, then delete.
Sometimes I wish I could do that. Just do, like January 1st. I'm throwing all the old email away and I'm starting from scratch. If you wrote me last year, forget it.
Inbox zero.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing? Inbox zero. That would last for about 15 seconds, and that's it.
Okay, very nice. So
and it's really a shame too, because there's so much good stuff out there that I just can't get to. Like this, I would love to do this with you. All we gotta do is get it on my calendar. That's what.
Yeah. We will do it.
What I need to do is get you the name of my assistant and get her to put you on my calendar.
So this is impressive for me. The first time that I go to the guy through the assistant.
She's getting to understand me, and she's starting to find better and better ways to kick me in the ass and make me go and do the things I really need to do. And she started deleting emails that I don't need to read.
This is a good one. The spam bot.
But if the truth is that I'm never going to get to this stuff anyway. better to delete them rather than have them haunt me that I'm not answering them.
Okay, I will stop it now. Thank you. So my guest is Mike Batiliana from Cloanto. So he is famous about mostly Amiga Forever, and thanks for this package because it's very useful to emulate. And I want to just some short question about future of Amiga. Future.
Yeah.
The first question, because I'm Mac user, it will come official to Mac to have the the nice player like it's in Windows.
Okay, that's a good question. The limitation is not lack of will, but lack of resources to do it properly. So there is a will to do it very well, but it's a small niche market. So we as developers, having to also sell and having just two hands and wanting to do it well, we chose to do Windows first, that being the larger market. And now that we have all the things in place, we always wanted to have like authoring. Now you can right-click a title and do edit. We have excellent high DPI support now, a gorgeous new user interface, which is completely rewritten this year. You will see it in a few months. I think we have the bits in place that we can port as is to the Mac much easier. So I wouldn't have started a port to the Mac before I had seen on the original Windows version the things we always wanted to see, because we had always a path of things we wanted, and many of the things were not there yet. Now they're beginning to be there exactly as they should be. So you can see also more of the authoring side, not just click to play. And yes, I would say it's getting closer. And somebody asked during my speech here at the Noise event, and I answered also about the Mac. Maybe we should do a Kickstarter. It seems to be very popular.
Exactly.
It's not my personal preference. I mean, I prefer to deliver when it's ready, but it works. And if it makes it possible, which otherwise wouldn't be possible because we are not independently rich, the project is in slight red, so it needs to be at least self-sustaining, even if we keep promoting it with things we have from other fields. More boring job we do during the day, we take away hours and money from that. So, okay, we're happy to do that, but a little bit it must be self-sustaining. So Kickstarter could be an idea, but we are collecting contacts from people who are interested. So if they go to amigaforever.com/Mac, they can sign up and be informed about progress. I know we have said this for a while, but we've also been collecting. The data is not lost. So as soon as there's a change, and I expect there will be a change soon, you will see news on macOS with a proper player, but also on mobile with a more limited, without the authoring side. So to play it will be possible also on mobile. The same titles, however, which you can, in the API 9 format, which you can author on the PC and Mac. As you saw today, we are here in Noise, for those who are not here in the context. I was presenting with a Mac, a MacBook Air. It was the best price performance to get an ultralight notebook. I have Windows and macOS myself on it. So, I mean, I feel your pain. I have a Mac too. But it was just lack of resources, not lack of will.
So I hope this will soon or later come.
Yes.
Other question about the emulation is PowerPC emulation. Can we expect in near future something like updated emulation especially for AmigaOS 4, that more RAM or something, the better graphic card, something like this that is Amiga laptop, I can do it.
You mentioned two core points, which was the reason for not releasing it before. When you have a PowerPC emulation with only 128 megabytes of RAM, it gets difficult to just browse the web, no? So what we are doing, working with Tony Whelan, who has been a great help in this, but also with others who are on the Amiga OS and application side, is to do it properly. So the next Amiga Forever will have a PowerPC emulation with ZoroBridge, with gigabyte class RAM, which you will be able to use. There will be a synthetic Zoro board for sharing data between host and guest. For example,
nice.
Yes, because In UAE, normally you use 68K call traps to exchange data, but this is done by the CPU emulator bit in UAE. As soon as AmigaOS starts, AmigaOS 4.1, it uses its own emulator, so the data exchange, which used to be active before, doesn't work. Also on PowerPC, again, it's another thing. So the most elegant solution was to do a Zora board. And that is being used to write from Amiga to host, and from host to Amiga, for example, you can tell it move the mouse here. You just need to, and we're working on that, you need to write a driver for the mouse, and the mouse will magically go smooth in and out. So these are all little refinements, like the memory, the PCI bridge, the support for display and sound chips with native and Ethernet. So you need native AmigaOS drivers for all these things we mentioned. Graphics, Ethernet and sound, in addition to the Amiga Polar generated sound. All of this will be there.
Very nice. I'm very pleasant about this. So maybe the last question, not to put too much time from your time here. For example, your work, this can be the sign of that we can jump somehow to other platform, Intel's, thanks through the powerful Intel processor. You can emulate PowerPC. Maybe this is our future. What do you think about that?
That's a good question. You know, I was a big fan of the PowerPC in the 90s. It was called the PowerPC reference. It was called Puma, or Common Hardware Reference Platform. It had different names, PrEP, CHRP, and Puma. And it seemed like Sun and IBM and Microsoft and Apple and Intelligent and even Amiga, they all would jump on that, and we would have a common system where you could run everything. And then all one by one, they changed direction. Apple added it custom logic so that you couldn't use the same as everybody else, and more or less artificial limitations, as you saw already then when the first emulators appeared between the PowerPC family. So we were the first, Quantum was the first to release PowerPC software actually, other than development tools. So we released a plugin for Personal Paint. And we've been following this obviously with interest. But when you reach a point that something can be emulated, now emulation by definition is slower than the original. When you reach a point that it can be emulated, it means there's a problem with the original, and that emulation is magically good. So that's interesting. Now Apple did the jump twice. Apple convinced its own developers to switch from 68K to PowerPC and then PowerPC to Intel. They had this emulation called Rosetta, right, to emulate the PowerPC on Intel, which worked very well. It had just-in-time compiler. Who knows whether just-in-time will be immediately available for the Amiga, but it would be a hope. Already now we have 32 bits, and not only Tony, who kickstarted this, but also Frode was very active, to do the 68-bit. So you increase the application memory space, and also, however, you need the CPU emulation to run on 64-bit. So we are inching there. We're getting closer, and I think. If the original hardware is either not available or out of reach for money reasons to the normal user like me, then emulation is the way to go. I had a Micro A1, I sold it after a few years, and this year again, because of the Amiga Forever work, and in the emulation it runs so well. I have AmigaOS 4.1, I bought it from Vesalia, and I have it running in the emulation perfectly.
Yeah, I'm using this too, and when you are on the trip or a meeting like that, this is the best. You have your laptop.
Exactly.
Going. So good. Okay. Thank you very much. This was very pleasant for me to meet you here, and we will see each other in the future and talk.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
It was AMIcast, podcast for all Amiga users.